Hello, this is Jarle from Norwegian Black Metal, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Sweet. So let's talk about Vreid, and actually, that's the way to pronounce it, Vreid.
Yeah, that's
we were having a discussion beforehand.
Yeah,
Vreid is the way I was pronouncing it.
Yeah, that's what most English-speaking people
is that
say.
That's the American way.
Yeah, but it's Vreid.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you guys. How's the boat been going so far?
It's been very good. It's our second time around, and it always feels like a really strange and weird experience. You know, going from Scandinavia down to play on a boat. So it's still, you know, after so many years, it strikes me as one of the most strange shows you can ever do, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah, floating out in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
And now it makes sense when you said it was the Arctic winter because you were way up there. And
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, it's cold in Germany, but it's not that cold.
Yeah.
What's it like playing with the fans, or being like so close with the fans and that sort of thing?
I think it's really cool, and I think from an audience perspective this has to be great. You know, you can walk around and talk and meet up with the bands, and I think also that people actually respect it in a way, so it works really well. It's, you know, they come up and ask for a photo or just a talk or whatever, and that's cool, and they respect if you are occupied with something else. So I think it works very well in this sense, but it's unique. It's completely different from, you know, a normal festival where you are sheltered on your own, but here you are kind of interacting,
eating, bumping elbows with everybody, right?
Yeah.
So Wild Northwest, about a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
What's been the response to it so far? Has it been pretty well?
It's been doing really well. It's been one of our best received albums anytime, and we've done quite a lot of festivals. We played everything from Hellfest, you know, and some of the major festivals, and in Hvàll and stuff like that. And we've done a Norwegian tour, and I think, you know, we will tour more on this album before we start with a new one, because, you know, of course, due to the pandemic, things have been on slowly, and I hope that we can do a full tour in both Europe and the US before we kind of start the next one.
Is anything in the works yet, or kind of?
Absolutely, we've been discussing it with our agent on this boat. So there's a couple of offers up, you know, and so I hope that we can do something in the autumn for the States. We really like to come back. It's been like 4 years since we did a tour here, so really looking forward to kind of get back to our audience here, and it's one of our favorite places to tour.
The world has changed though, so it's so fucked up how that's gonna.
Yeah, but that's
a lot goes into it, having to do it, right? A lot more than normal.
Oh yes, absolutely. You know, there's so many bands going out there, and still, you know, things are hard to pick up, and it's a different world, absolutely. But then again, I think that's kind of concerns that we can't really pay attention to. We just have to go out there and play whenever the offer makes sense, and then, you know, all the circumstances around we can't control anyway. So as long as we are on stage, we're happy.
Right. Wild Northwest, when you guys were writing it, was that written during the pandemic?
Yes.
So you had extra time to really kind of hone it and...
Yeah, and I have my own studio where I recorded albums, so kind of, you know, when we're stuck at home anyway, even though I had my day work that I can do from home, it was, of course, it gave us more time, you know, to sit around and working with the albums. So we did that and a couple of streaming shows just to kind of keep the band, you know, on their... not just fading away and getting lazy and rotten. So we try to, you know, do things to kind of keep it, and also get a name out there and kind of interacting with people in some other ways.
I think, and we've talked about this on the show a few times, I think we're going to see like this weird creative renaissance after the pandemic, right? Because everybody was doing what you guys are doing, honed in and writing and creating and crafting, and not just in music, but like in art and everywhere, right? You're going to see all this really great stuff.
Yeah, I think so, and I think they're also going to divide things a bit, because, you know, I think a lot of people kind of, I speak with a lot of bands that kind of, you know, you just go in the same wheel all the time, and you just kind of, you know, you just do it because this is what you do. But I kind of think it made a change for some bands, that kind of got more appreciation of what they did, and also some bands kind of find out that they want to do something else with their lives, you know. So I think this time off for a lot of people kind of decided the course of how you're going to continue.
So like a separation.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Here's a good one for you. Why do you think so many metal bands or quality metal bands come out of Norway, Finland, or the Scandinavian countries, as opposed, even per capita, as opposed to everywhere else? Is it the darkness?
Yeah, in some ways I think, because there's not much else to do in a lot of months during the year. So either you can go out skiing, or you stay inside and you drink, or you go to the movies, or you write music, I guess. And I also think that I've seen it for ourselves and many other bands, that you're kind of you're not really following the trends of the world outside and trying to see what's done. At least when growing up, it was kind of just like making music. Of course we had inspirations and stuff like that, but there was never thought about we're going to make these albums, we're going to go out touring, we're going to make money, we're going to do it like a part-time job or anything. It was just about making music, and I think this is kind of in our backbone, and I've stuck ever since.
So you mentioned that you don't have the outside influences, but you sort of do, right? Because Norway, you have some sort of expectation to live up to, especially in the extreme metal world, right? With like the godfathers of...
No, not really.
No?
No, I think even the godfathers, I know many of those, if you refer to the old bands. And,
right.
And they also have a quite relaxed view of what they're doing, It's like of course, in the early 90s, when that thing started, it was, of course, competition between the bands and stuff like that, but it was more like looking inwards than looking outwards in many ways. So, and we never looked at it as that we have to kind of compete with any of those or anything like that. It's like just doing your own thing, That's always been the thing, and that makes our creative world very stressless, I guess.
Yeah, that's for sure. I just didn't know if it was more eyes on you and more pressure trying to compete with, some of those.
Of course, you also get compared by press, audience, and whatever,
right.
But I think, it's something. I don't know why it's that way, but it's the mentality I see of so many bands that it's not about how people kind of view you or how it's received or something. It's very much about building their own stubborn, strong identity and what they're doing and sticking to that in a way.
And I guess in the end that makes it more honest and organic, right?
Yeah, I think so, and at least more for me interesting in that way. That kind of just I'm fortunate enough to have found something in my life that I can work with creatively and kind of just stick to that, and doesn't really depend on what any labels or anything want. It's like kind of just continuing this weird little path.
How cathartic is it putting writing that sort of extreme black metal-ish stuff? It's got to be super cathartic, right?
Yeah, for me it's always, but again, then again, as I said, always felt like a natural thing. For me, it's seeking atmosphere, kind of creating a certain setting with the music. So it's that combined with the whole idea of the riff. For me, the riff is the essence of heavy music, and it's always been starting out with the riff and building something around that. And my main concern always when I kind of finish off a song is, did I actually let that original idea of that riff shine through, or did I burrow it in junk?
Right.
So that's kind of.
And then what do you do? Go back and start stripping it?
Yeah. So that's always been the essence for me, and as I get older, it's more and more important. For me, it's like when Tony Iommi started writing riffs of Black Sabbath. That's where it's all ignited. That's kind of where the rest of the metal scene is just kind of
that
new variations.
One riff set everything off, right? 2004, you guys have been around since. Did you ever imagine you'd still be doing this?
No.
It's kind of a wild ride, right?
Oh yes, we didn't have any expectation of or any kind of plan of how long we're going to do this, but we started really early on doing big tours and went out. We had been a band for 5 months, and we went out for a 4-week European tour with Enslaved. So from there on it just kind of grew, and we got the big festivals like Wacken and stuff like that. And since then we've been fortunate enough to kind of there's always been an interest. There's always people come back to what we want to do. But it's still I have we were sitting. Just before we went on stage and played on Pool Deck, kind of pinching yourself. It's like this is one of the things you don't expect in life, going here or going to Japan or India or whatever. It's like even with a lot of the songs written in our own dialect, and you kind of this stubborn off-path music, and still there's people all around the world interested.
Right. So even as kids, you're writing these little riffs, and you never imagine you'd be
Absolutely not.
floating here in the Caribbean playing to 3,000 people.
Yeah, no, never in my wildest dreams.
What do you guys have planned? I know you have Hellfest again. I saw confirmed. And Hell and Heaven open air.
Yeah, we do that, and we're going to do a couple of more festivals in Europe this summer, and then, as I said, hopefully we're going to do a US tour in the autumn. It's in the works, so either in the autumn or early 2024. And I've started. I always kind of write new ideas and stuff like that, but I'm not sure this time around if I'm going to actually make start off writing as a new album. Maybe I'm just going to write songs and release them one by one, or EPs or whatever, because you know what I hate about releasing an album, especially these days with the vinyl thing, it's it's like it can take you up to 10 months after the album is finished before you have it out there. And for me then it's I like playing it live, but for me it's like then I moved on in a sense. So for me it's appealing to think again like they did in the back from the Elvis days and the Beatles, and later on just you had an idea, you recorded it, and boom, out there it is. So,
and I think the music business has sort of evolved that way, right?
Yeah.
Old school fans like me still like the record and the way you sequenced it and all that stuff. But
absolutely, and I agree to that. I love the album formats, but I think when you kind of become hostage that you have to work and wait in that sense, I think at least maybe I'm interested to see how that works when you just put your focus into one song and you don't know how the next song is going to be and like that, and maybe it's a different journey than when you started with an album, because I think how you try to change is there's something in your DNA, and have that album format. So maybe writing songs can spark something different.
And I know the kids, like my son's age, they just want the one song anyway, right? Give me the 3.5 minutes and let me move on to something else.
And if you're lucky, they'll listen to 15 seconds of them, and then the next one. No, that's what
that's
my
a
own
shame.
kids.
How that happened. So what does a Vreid show look like? I imagine it's multi-generational at this point, right? Because 2004, you got people like me bringing their kids. Yeah,
we see that now. There's always a new audience coming off. Of course, luckily we see a lot of the same people also turning up still. But I think it's important. It's good to see that you're recruiting younger generation, new and different people, and that's always a goal for us. And we like to, when we are touring, we like to go with different kinds of band, not necessarily just extreme metal bands. I think with our sound, we have a few different directions, a lot of rock and roll in it. There's a bit progressive stuff. So we like to, instead of just repeating the same tour packages as time after time, go out with different bands and challenge new audience. Sometimes it's a tough job, but I think it's good for the band.
Yeah, I imagine some of the people in the audience are like, "Whoa, I didn't know that was coming."
What is this? It's like so. But I think, and that again, we see when we travel like Germany or France or whatever, it's harder to combine broader aspects of packages of music. But in Norway, it's no worries at all. We just did a tour with Audrey Horn, which is a straightforward classic hard rock band, and it worked really well. It was the best-selling tour we ever did together.
Really?
So for both bands, it worked out really well, and we see that at festivals and stuff in Norway. You can put up straightforward rock with extreme black metal, and people have. It works in some strange way in Norway, but if you do the same thing in Norway and in Germany, it's a tough sell.
Interesting. I wonder why that is. More open-minded, maybe?
Yeah, and I think also the US is more open-minded than, let's say, Central and Mainland Europe. I remember when we did our first US tour, we toured with Belfegor, Ailstorm, Illivitia, and Vreid, which are really, really weird package.
That's a weird combination.
But it worked in some sense, It was, but then we could also see the difference from in the US. It was different from LA towards New Mexico, wherever you played. In New Mexico, there was Belfegor and Vreidland. They hated Ailstorm at that time.
Right.
But in other places, it could be a bit more the other way around. So, but I always felt that it's. The US audience actually are more open-minded than Central Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought it been the other way.
Yeah, no.
I do like that package thing idea though, because you get turned on to different kinds of music, right? So you go there for Vreid and then Hailstorms or Illivitia or whatever.
Yeah, I think then again I think a lot of these bands are kind of rooted in the same basis in many ways, and there's different outturns and different paths, but I think a lot of audience appreciate it, and maybe especially the younger audience, as you know, they got even a more diverse taste sometimes. I think they kind of they're not like I am a thrash metal guy or I am a black metal guy. They're kind of mixing things up, and I think I think it's fine. I think that's kind of a way of finding new music.
I agree. So last one on the interview here. You've been on the boat for a couple of days. Have you seen anything that stood out to you? Any shows?
Yes, it's been. I have to say, the good old friends of mine in Rotting Christ. Amazing show. I think it was brilliant. I'm looking forward to see them now at the pool deck afterwards. They also saved our day because our guitars never showed up from Oslo. We were stuck in the airport.
Oh, you're kidding.
So we were waiting, and then the boat was going and no guitars turned up, so Rotting Christ landed us their gear, so they helped us with the show. So
Wow.
top guys. So I think that, and also Hypocrisy played just before us on the pool deck, and that's one of my old favorite bands. I think
They were fantastic.
exceptional show. Oh yes, and Peter Tietgren, he's a legend in every sense, and ever back since 94, 95, since I discovered them, it's been one of my favorite, more kind of death metal oriented band, and they have their own sound, and they kind of just blew everyone away at the pool deck.
Yes, they were on it for sure.
Oh yes.
That's